Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Good morning. Here we go. Buckle up for what is about to prove to be a wild ride here for the next 2 hours here on Undisputed for two reasons. Number one, we do have 2 hours worth of knockdown, drag-out debates lined up. And number two, and more important, this is the first morning on Undisputed here from my home studio that my wife, Ernestine, is running my camera solo. She's doing it all by herself. And unfortunately, we did have a little tiff last night. So if somebody suddenly telestrates a mustache and glasses on me, you'll know exactly where that came from. But seriously, Ernestine is great. She shoots all of my videos, including the infamous throw the Zeke jersey in the trash can video. So I am in great hands here at my house this morning. But on the other hand, Shannon Sharpe probably has his quarantine staff of 30 up there in his palatial estate way up the hill in Bel Air. Good morning to you and your staff, Shannon Sharpe.
Good morning, Skip. I have a quarantine of 5. They've been here the whole while. Look, man, I'm trying to win a sports Emmy. So all I can do to win a sports Emmy, this is what I'm going to continue to do. But Skip, before I go any further, today is a very special day for me. Today is my brother's birthday. So I want to tell you, big bro, I love you. Happy birthday and enjoy the day.
Happy birthday, Sterling Sharpe, the better football player of the Sharpe brothers. Way to go, Sterling Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe and I today. Go ahead. Yeah, I did. That's true. Way to go. So today, Shannon and I are going to go at it over, number one, whether the Bruce Arians philosophy of win or lose, we booze will drive Tom Brady crazy. And then we're going to go at it over whether Zeke will now turn into Todd Gurley or Emmitt Smith, as I hope. And also, we will go at it over who would win an NBA horse tournament contest. And speaking of H-O-R-S-E, horse, when I first read over the weekend that ESPN is working with the NBA to perhaps televise a horse competition between NBA players, my first thought was, wonder who would have won a horse contest or who hypothetically would won one between LeBron James in his prime and Michael Jordan in his prime. So Shannon Sharpe, start us off here by telling the truth. Who would win that competition?
Skip, look, a horse is about being able to make shots, being creative, and doing things that your opponent feels uncomfortable doing. Now, I don't know how many people actually know this, but LeBron James is a natural lefty. The only thing that he does right-handed is shoot a basketball. Throws a pass, shoot a basketball. Everything else, he writes his name, his left hand in his dominant hand. So he would feel very comfortable making shots, something other than a layup, with his left hand. Now, people are like, LeBron's a terrible shooter. But through the course of his career, and I remind you, I think he's played 2 or 3 more years already than Michael played. He is a better three-point shooter than Michael Jordan because you're going to have to be able to shoot from distance, Skip. Anybody that, and we're going to talk about this a little later, anybody in the current NBA that would engage in this, you're going to have to be able to make pretty much half-court shots probably 2 or 3 times out of 10 shots because that's what the great shooters in the NBA can currently do. But back to Michael and LeBron. LeBron is a better outside shooter from the distance than Michael Jordan. Skip, did you know 3 times that Michael Jordan shot under 30% from the three-point line in his career? Under 30%. Michael did that. His last year, that great year that you talked about, his last year in Chicago, Skip, he shot 24% from the three-point line. Is that good? Now you tell, the GOAT. They haven't moved the three-point line further back. So what you see guys routinely, the ice trade, Trae Young and Steph Curry and Dame Lillard and even LeBron has turned into a logo shooting three-point guy. The three-point line isn't any further back. Michael Jordan shot 24%. Even the great Lonzo Ball has a higher three-point percentage than that. Skip, you have poisoned the water so bad, you've got people thinking Not only can LeBron not shoot from distance, but LeBron isn't clutch. When we know that to be true, LeBron has more playoff buzzer beaters than Michael Jordan. He has more clutch shots, NBA defined clutch as 5 minutes or less, playoff shots than Michael Jordan. So for me, and I know you want to, obviously it would be no contest now, but in their prime, I'm taking LeBron. Now, the only thing I would say is that we're going to make this a straight-up game of horse, none of this Michael Jordan shenanigans. And you know what I'm talking about, because Michael is a gambler. And Michael will lure you in, and he doesn't gamble for $10, $15. He gambles for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, so we want no part of that. We're going to play a straight game of horse, Horse, and that's it. No side bets, none of that other stuff, Mike. LeBron taking him down, Skip.
Okay, it is my turn. My first takeaway is this would be a complete and utter mismatch. I believe that if this were on national TV under huge pressure with the world watching, this could be internationally televised because this would be epic. I believe LeBron would lose this competition Horse to 0. I believe LeBron would get no letters on Michael, while Michael got 5 quick letters on LeBron, and it would be a wipe out. And I'll start out by telling you why. Let's go left-handed. Let's go ambidextrous. I once witnessed, after a Bulls practice, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, for what was probably hundreds of thousands of dollars even in 1998, in a post-practice free throw shooting competition with several other Bulls, and Michael was shooting the free throws left-handed, blindfolded, and wiping out everybody. Nobody could touch him because he was swishing left-handed free throws blindfolded. So don't give me LeBron ambidextrous. I got it. But that would mean nothing in this competition because Michael wasn't just good with his left hand. He was great with his left hand. So now let's go to three-point shooting. Do you remember some of the clutchest three-point shooting you ever witnessed? How about game 1 in the 92 finals against the Portland Trailblazers? Do you remember the shrug game? Just look it up on YouTube. For all of you young viewers who don't know what I'm talking about, just YouTube it. Just type in Michael Jordan shrug game, and you'll see him shrugging because he made 1, and then he made 2, and then he made 3, 4, 5, 6. He made 6 in a row to start the NBA Finals in the first half. Lord have mercy, Shannon. Under pressure, this guy was deadly from 3. And by the way, your numbers can get skewed over his career because nobody even valued or emphasized the three-point shot. I can throw this at you. 95, 96. Again, he's taking very low volume as compared to LeBron James, but he shot 43% from 3 in 95, 96. So let's look, shall we, at LeBron James? He is average at best from 3, and I can show you numbers that scream he's way below average as a high-volume three-point shooter, because if we look at the 32 players who have shot 373s this year, that's 370 or more, he ranks 32. He's 28th of those 32 this year. If we go at career, he's a 34% three-point shooter as LeBron James. Of the 37 players who have taken 4,000 or more in their career, wait a second, LeBron ranks 34th? Wow, 34th of 37, high volume. And of the 93 who have shot 3,000 or more, the 43, he's 25th of that. So my point is, when you go high volume, he's a lousy three-point shooter. So under pressure, and again, this would be trash-talking pressure against what I believe is to be the greatest trash talker ever. LeBron would have no chance because what would Michael do right off the bat, Shannon? He would take him to the free throw line. They're called free throws. LeBron is simply the worst clutch time free throw shooter of superstars in NBA history. So Michael could just go to the free throw line and he'd probably make one left-handed, but that wouldn't, again, I'm with you. Don't shoot gimmick shots. Just shoot it right-handed and make them. What does LeBron do notoriously under pressure? He misses free throws. So Michael could beat him at horse. He could HORSE just from the free throw line. So this would be a wipeout. And I didn't even get to Michael's specialty, which is mid-range jump shooting. There have been very few any better than Michael at mid-range hold-the-post jump shots, which is LeBron's weakness. It's the big glaring hole in his game. He doesn't shoot many mid-range jumpers. I know he's got that fadeaway he shoots, but Michael just goes straight up, holds the post, makes the shot. Yeah. So, again, Shannon, I just gave you 3 ways that Michael would murder LeBron in a horse contest.
Well, Skip, you keep talking about, well, if they national televise these games. Well, the NBA Finals, last I checked, they televise basketball games. The NBA Finals and the playoffs and regular season games are on television. But here's the thing, Skip, if you don't mind me asking, how many game-winning threes have Michael Jordan made in his playoff career?
Well, he didn't take them. He didn't need to take them. I know a jump shot that he made at Utah because I was sitting on front row, press row. He held the pose against Brian Russell to win the game 6 and close it out. Has LeBron ever done that?
Everybody in the NBA is hitting a game-winning jump shot or a layup. I'm saying a game-winning three like he did against Orlando, like he did against Indiana. That's what I'm talking about, Skip. How many of those? Because you see, at some point in time, if okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, he goes to the free throw line. It's not like he's getting all 5 letters with one shot. It's one letter. He can only shoot from the free throw line one time. What's he going to do? He's going to granny it. He's going to left-hand it. He's going to right-hand it. He's going to throw a hook. No. But here's the thing. LeBron's going to get to shoot the ball first. At some point in time, Michael is not making all 5 shots. Okay, obviously you flip a coin to see who goes first, and who knows? LeBron might run the alphabet on him. He might not get a shot, and he might not get skunked out by LeBron. LeBron's gonna have HORSE, and Michael's gonna have nothing. Who's to say it won't be the other way around when LeBron goes first, Skip?
Well, used to say it, but not me's to say it. I'll tell you that, because if we look at LeBron's three-point shooting in volume in playoff games, there was that one back in 2006. It was game 4 against Washington. He did make 7 threes in that game. And in the first half, he made 5. So he made, again, Jordan started the game by making 6 straight. In the game in 2006 that LeBron made 7, he made 5 in the first half, but he only made 2 of 5 in the second half. They lost to Washington by 10 in that game. Obviously, in the Jordan game, game 1 of the 1992 finals, the Bulls won that game 122-89. So I'm still saying that the guy who can get hotter from 3 would be Jordan. And if you get on a streak in a horse game, you can just shoot the other guy into psychological smithereens. And that's what Jordan is known for doing. Okay, so now I changed the subject to Michael's other huge advantage in this competition, and that's lane shots. And again, I'm with you on the rules of the game. I would think that the rules would have to be, you have to take shots that you would normally take in a basketball game. I don't want any weird trick shots like when you shoot it from straight behind the backboard over the backboard and try to make it.
Oh, no. That's part of it.
That's out. That's out. And no trying to bounce the ball and make the basket. No trick shots. You have to take a shot that you would take normally in the basketball game. So,
see what you're doing? You're trying to cater the rules. You're trying to cater the rules, Skip Bayless.
No, I'm not. I'm saying you can't do that. So my point is,
yes, you can.
Of LeBron and Michael in the lane, who is the most athletic finisher between LeBron and Michael? Who can do gymnastic dipsy-do moves like you've never seen, flying through midair? who is the jump man, who is the king of midair. It's Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So he could pull off some dipsy-do shot, some hang, twist, turn, and lay it off the glass with his right hand backwards. Maybe that shot. That LeBron is not, he's too stiff. What do you always tell me about LeBron James? The reason he's never...
now he too stiff.
Wait. Okay, but you tell me he's never done a dunk contest because he's not that athletic. He's too stiff. You've said that before on Undisputed.
No.
He's too stiff
I did not
to
say...
do dunks, to do contest dunks. Am I right?
Boy, Skip Bayless, you think you're slick. You tried to ease the word unathletic. LeBron, you said he's not. I've never said LeBron James is not athletic enough. I said LeBron James' creativity. LeBron James is an in-game dunker. Levine and Vince Carter and Michael Jordan, those guys are creative dunkers. Aaron Gordon, those are different than being an in-game power dunker. You try to slip that in there, Skip Bayless. I hear everything you say. LeBron James was, and always will be athletic, as you can tell by what he's doing in year 17.
Who is more athletic, Jordan in his prime or LeBron in his prime?
Skip, it all depends on what you're talking about. Listen, Skip, I give you this. Michael could get hot, but see, the thing is, when LeBron gets hot, he's still looking to pass the basketball. He's not looking to, because we saw against New Orleans, when they were in New Orleans, he had 19 points at the half. Now, he comes out in the third quarter, tries to get AD involved. Most guys, Dame Lillard, guys, Harden, Russ, guys that are streaky like that, get hot, they try to continue it. LeBron says, no, I'm going to need these other guys at some point in time during the game. Let me all of a sudden turn into a pure facilitator. He took one shot in the third quarter, and that came with about 5 minutes left in the third. Then he takes it back on, takes over again in the fourth quarter. So I give you that because Jordan's mentality was, if I'm hot, I'm going to stay in this zone as long as I possibly can. That's not how LeBron operates. But if you think for 1 second, you see what the man doing in year 17, Skip. He did the Kobe Bryant rockabye baby from the same distance. And he was probably 35, 40 pounds heavier than when Kobe did it. And he's still doing that. So if you think a young 22-year-old could not do what Michael Jordan do as far as dunking, you're out your mind. Because here's the thing, Skip.
Okay.
He would have the blueprint to do it because he has seen Michael do it.
Okay. So I want to point this out to you. You may not quite understand the rules of horse, but you realize you can't pass in horse, right? You can't give up the basketball to make... You can't make the right play in horse by passing to an open teammate instead of you taking the shot. You have to take every shot, LeBron James. You can't wimp out. You can't dodge pressure. You can't run from the free throw line by saying, oh, I made the right play. I passed to Kyle Korver in the corner. Nope, you can't pass it. You have no teammates in horse. You have to take the shot.
We don't need
now
them.
back to the rules again. I would think that one rule you would have to institute is no dunking in this horse contest because you'd want the little men to have as much advantage as the big men. So you wouldn't let Dwight Howard into this competition and he would just dunk it every time and beat whoever, Steph Curry or whoever he might be matched
Trae
up
Young,
against.
yeah.
So I would say no dunking. Yeah, Trae Young. But in this case, who won the two most iconic two of the most iconic dunk contests? Who has the most iconic dunk in NBA slam dunk contest history? Well, it's obviously the original and the only number 23. So the point is that he is more athletic and more creatively athletic than LeBron. So on shots in the paint that aren't dunks, hanging, twisting shots, creative, like Harlem Globetrotter kind of Meadowlark Lemon shots, Michael could pull off shots that I don't believe LeBron could match. And I'm not talking about dunks. I'm just talking about shots made from 4 or 5 feet in the lane.
Well, you Skip, I don't believe Michael is more athletic, just athleticism. Do I believe he's more creative? Absolutely. And it's easier for a man that's lighter that can jump to stay in the air longer than a man that's heavier that can jump. You know, a guy that can, Zach LaVine is going to stay in the air longer than Zion Williamson. It's just that Zion is so much heavier. Of course, a bowling ball is going to fall at a higher rate than a penny, Skip, wouldn't you think? So that's what LeBron is up against. But I'm not going to let you change the rules. Skip, another one of these iconic commercials. You remember the commercial? I think it was a McDonald's commercial. It was Larry Bird against Michael Jordan. And they were all up in the stands, and they said, okay, through the window, off the backboard, nothing but net. You know what I'm saying? They were doing all kind of things. That's what horse is. You can't just say, okay, only shots that you would attempt during the course of the game. Skip, no. If you're gonna toss it behind your back and kiss it off the backboard and it goes in, that's a shot. You can't limit someone's creativity because that's creativity. And that's what horse is about, being creative. Because as you said, sometimes a bigger man has an advantage because he can just dunk the basketball where a smaller man can't. So the smaller man has to have some kind of advantage, Skip, and it's probably going to be his creativity. So with that being said, all I'm saying is that there can be no money wagered because you know how Michael is. Michael does not like to do anything for fun. He has to put money down. And you remember, Magic told the story of what happened is that they were paying Pity Pat the night before that Shrug game. And they had been staying up all night, and he tried to get his money back after Magic had beat him. And he looked at Magic, who was calling the game at the time, Skip, and he shrugged like, I don't know how I did this. I stayed up till 3, 4 in the morning gambling, and here I am draining threes. So he shrugs like, I can't believe it either, bro.
Thank you for telling that story. That's the epitome and essence of Michael Jordan, the clutchest player who ever set foot on a basketball court. So back to the rules changes. I'm not trying to change the rules. I'm trying to level the playing field for LeBron here. Because if you say all bets are off or on, if you say Michael Jordan can do trick shots, he can blindfold himself and shoot left-handed free throws, then it's even a worse advantage for Michael than before. So I'm trying to even it for you. I'm trying to give you a little bit of a ghost of a chance here, because if you let Michael bounce the ball off, like off the floor and into the basket, it would be a joke what he would do to LeBron if he could make up shots that are non-basketball shots. I'm trying to keep it pure competition instead of goofy, gimmicky competition.
Do you remember when LeBron took the ball like a football, Skip, and he was on one end of the court and he just palmed the ball, and I don't know if we have the footage, and he just heaved the ball basically 90 feet and swished nothing but net. All of that is fair game in horse. And you try to come up with things that you know your guy can't do. This is one thing we know is not happening. They can see it, people at home can see it. We know Michael ain't doing this. And look at this. That's just a routine pass.
Wait a second. What? That's just stupid. Wait a second. Are you saying LeBron would call his shot on a 90-foot baseball throw, the length of the court, and swish it?
Call it.
He would not.
Call it.
I dare him. I would dare him to shoot it every time because he would lose horse to nothing. He could not make one of those. I'll give him 1,000 of those on national TV under pressure against Jordan, and he won't make 1 in 1,000 of those. You know it, and I know it.
This is how confident I am that LeBron would beat Jordan. It would be tied. Both players would have S. LeBron would have the ball. He could do something easy, probably easy, left-handed shot, hook shot, and win. But he would go down and do that shot, 90-plus feet, from one end of the court to the other, to make it dramatic. That's how my guy, that's what GOAT James does. We don't take anything easy. We gonna put him out on a 90-foot baseball pass, football pass, shot from one end of the court to the other.
Yeah.
Game. Over.
And you know what Michael would do right before LeBron tried to launch it? he would say, I'll bet you $100 million you can't make that shot, because both of them have $100 million to lose. Yep, he would. And LeBron would LeBrick it. He would airball it.
Skip, you know that's how Mike plays. Mike does nothing for fun. Everything have to be monetary incentivized. That's just who he is. You playing golf, it might be 100,000 or 50,000 on a putt, on an 8-foot putt. He's gonna put that kind of money because he just don't want, okay, I bet you $5. $5? No, he might bet you $500,000. That's how he plays, Skip. Everybody, Skip. There's a reason why if you watch when they play poker, for the most part, Skip, they use chips. Because chip, even though it's the equivalent of, they might have $500,000 or $1 million chips, it's not the same because you look at that as an object. When you have $1 million and you have to shove that, somehow the mind can't separate that's $1 million, but the $1 million chip is different. The mind can separate that. Michael Jordan, he loves to put that pressure on people, Skip, and he knows they don't have that kind of money to lose. They get nervous. They all of a sudden, man, I've made this shot 1,000 times before, but I got 500,000. I mean, think about skipping golf. How many times you think guys have made 5-foot putts or 3-foot putts in their life, but to win Augusta, but to win the PGA or to win the British Open at St. Andrews? It's a different ball game. You get nervous. You put 500,000 or $1 million or $5 million, Skip, that's a whole different ball game. So no gambling.
So here's what would happen, Shannon Sharpe. I believe Michael Jordan would win the coin flip and get the first horse shot, and he would go straight to the free throw line and make a conventional right-handed free throw and swish it, and he would turn to LeBron James and say, we know you always choke from the free throw line, and LeBron would step right up to the line and LeBrick it, because Michael Jordan would get under his skin and into his head immediately and turn him into a big bundle ball of nerves. You know it, and I know it. Jordan would win the trash-talking competition first, and then he would skunk LeBron on national TV in HORSE.
You know what LeBron would do? LeBron would do to Jordan what Jordan did to Dikembe. You remember Dikembe was talking trash to him? And in an actual game, he's like, I'm going to make this with my eyes closed. He closed his eyes, shot a free throw, and made it. That's what LeBron would do to Michael Jordan. He'd make the free throw first. LeBron, he'll do all that talking in my ear. He's like, back up. Get out the lane. You can't stay in the lane. Do all the talking you want to, but get out the lane. And then he was like, close his eyes. Swag up.
Yeah. Shannon Sharpe, I'm sorry. I think you've been delusional through our first topic of the show, so I'm going to give you another chance on a Tom Brady topic, speaking of the other GOAT, the GOAT of the NFL, because we're going to talk about the Bruce Arians philosophy of win or lose, we booze. No mercy. Now to the NFL. Now to Tom Brady, the Buccaneer. Yep, he's a Buccaneer. On ESPN.com, Ian O'Connor writes about the oft-stated philosophy of Bruce Arians of win or lose, we booze. And Ian also writes about one friend of Tom Brady saying that he was Belichicked out after 20 years and was looking forward to this philosophy of Bruce Arians of, hey, let's go grab a couple of beers and sneak in 9 holes, that Tom Brady would find that philosophy refreshing. However, some around the NFL, according to Ian O'Connor, have issues with that for Tom Brady, saying that this is going to make him quickly miss the Belichick philosophy of this, almost maniacally dedicated and disciplined philosophy and structure and approach. So, Shannon Sharpe, do you think that Tom Brady will soon have a problem with Bruce Arians?
Well, Skip, when you've heard a singular voice for 20 years, it's going to take some getting used to. For me, Skip, my years with Denver, with Mike Shanahan, everybody was on time. You showed up to the meeting. Nobody walked into the meeting late. Well, I go to Baltimore and Brian is standing up there talking in the morning meeting and guys are still filing in. Skip, that bothered me. I'm like, wait a minute. Were you moonlighting? Last I checked, everybody's making enough money. This should be your only job. You should be able to get here on time. And for me, my thought process was, Skip, why the hell you think your time is more important than mine? If I got up and got here on time, you should get up and get on time. So I'm sure there might be instances and situations where things that Tom know would not fly in New England, where Bruce Arians let fly in Tampa. And I think the biggest thing I think, Skip, I believe that they probably already had this conversation. The only thing that I told Brian, Skip, when I signed Brian Billick, who was the head coach, the only thing that I told him, I said, you can coach me. You can coach me hard, even in front of the team, but you can't curse me. That's all I ask of you is don't curse me, because I'm not receptive to that, and you're not going to like what you're going to get back in return. So, Skip, I believe Tom Brady has already had a conversation with Bruce, kind of what the expectations are. Now, for me, Skip, this notion in coaches, and for the most part, most NFL coaches believe in this. If you don't spend at least 14 hours in the office a day, Skip, you're not getting anything done. I don't believe that. I believe that if I can get my work done, if I'm watching tape, and I watch it a couple of times, Skip, I go back and I look at it like, okay, I see a tendency here, such and such and so on. Skip, this notion that you got to spend 14 hours is kind of like taking a test. They say, well, okay, you got to have 2 hours to finish this test. Skip, if I finish the test in an hour, why am I just going to sit there just because they gave me 2 hours? If I finish the test, I'm going to get up, turn it in, and I'm leaving. If you've done your work, Skip, how much tape can you watch? If you've done your work, go home. You ain't fooling nobody. But the objective is to work smarter, not harder. So I think Tom is going to watch film how he watches film. Now, he might, just because, Bruce beats him out of there, because, Coach, he never beat Coach Belichick out of the office. It's hard for me to believe that he beat Coach Belichick in the office. Well, that might turn around, and that might rub Tom the wrong way.
Okay, all great points. And I loved your anecdote about your first meeting in Baltimore when guys are drifting in late, and you're like, this won't fly. That was great. Yeah. And I've always said that you and Ray are two of the all-time greatest leaders. And I think that even you, beyond Ray, helped reset that culture in Baltimore that year that you won, obviously, your third ring in 3 tries in the NFL. But if we look back at the whole thought process behind Tom Brady choosing out of the blue, out of left field, in the shock of shocks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe one of the reasons was that he knows Bruce Arians, he knows his style is hang loose, and he wanted to go in with the biggest challenge anybody could ever undertake. A coach who has only won 1 playoff game in his career, and that's Bruce Arians. He's 1-2 in the playoffs. Remember, Bruce did win 2 rings with Pittsburgh. One was when he was the wide receivers coach. That's when they beat Seattle in the Super Bowl. Second one, they beat Arizona in the Super Bowl, and he was the offensive coordinator. But Bruce, as a head coach, has 1 playoff win. It was that Saturday night, you might remember, at Arizona against Aaron Rodgers in that wild shootout game. So I believe Tom Brady said, I believe I can teach Bruce almost as much as he can teach me. I can teach Bruce about how to redefine a culture. And Bruce said the first day, the main reason we wanted Tom Brady was for what he could do in our locker room. Not so much on the field, because we all know what Tom can do on the field and in the huddle, but in the locker room. So I believe that Tom looked at this as his greatest challenge, because obviously Tampa Bay, the Succaneers, have been the worst franchise in all of sports with a winning percentage of .387. He said, I'm going to take that team to the Super Bowl this year, because the Super Bowl is going to be played in Tampa. No home team has ever played in a home stadium Super Bowl. So Brady's saying, aha, I got a shot there. And remember, Brady, according to the Ian O'Connor story, said to them in the over the video, I guess they were just on the phone probably, when they first talked on that first Wednesday when it was officially free agency, Tom said to them, I think we've got something here. We've got a chance to be very special. And they were shocked at how much homework Tom had already done on everything, including how good the Todd Bowles' defense was down the stretch over the last 6 or 7 games. They went 4-2 in their last 6 games. And Todd Bowles' defense started to come to life and was having to overcome, as Tom saw in the film, a whole lot of turnovers, 35 total turnovers, 12 more than any other quarterback in the NFL, courtesy of Jameis Winston, that kept putting the defense in hole after hole after hole, the worst inherited field position in all of football last year. So Tom is saying, okay, I'll reset that culture. I'll rebuild it. I'll show Bruce some things, and he can teach me some things. But remember, the great Tom Moore, who coached Peyton in Indy, is also there, and he's very disciplined. And Clyde Christensen's been around. I think he's a hard worker. So I think Tom thought, okay, Bruce was with Peyton in Peyton's first 3 years in pro football. So maybe that structure, Peyton's obviously fanatically dedicated to practicing and film watching. So that probably rubbed off on Bruce Arians. So to me, I look at this as the ideal challenge for Tom Brady. And I think Bruce Arians will start to see and feel that, maybe this is the way I should have been doing it my whole career. Maybe I should be more like Tom. Nobody can match Tom in after practice at home film study because he's obsessed with it. He's like a film nerd at home. So again, Bruce can go have a beer or two after practice. Tom's going home to watch tape. So to me, I don't see that this will be that discouraging to Tom. And there will be also a new fun side of all this that I do think he missed as he got Belichick for 20 years in New England.
Skip, if you look at it, let's look at this in a political term. Okay, Tom Brady probably was in a situation where you look at, we had President Obama for 12 years, and we go all the way to the right with President Trump. Okay, if you look at how teams normally get coaches, look at Philly. They had Andy Reid. Who did they hire, Skip, right after Andy Reid? Chip Kelly, who's directly opposite of Andy Reid. You look at the Giants. They have Jim Fossil. Who do they hire after Jim Fossil? They hired Tom Coughlin. So you see how the pendulum swings, Skip? It doesn't swing to the middle. It swings way. So you either way over here, and they're like, we got to get way to the right. And then what you try to do is it swings back, and you try to somehow come to the middle. It seems like Tom was way to the right, Skip, and he wanted to come he didn't stop in the middle. He didn't stop 3/4. He went totally to the left because Bruce but from everything I've heard, is a total player's coach. He's very matter of fact. He had no problem. You heard what he said when they asked him about Jameis. He's like, hell, we won with that quarterback. I'm sure we can win with another one. Most coaches wouldn't be that blunt, Skip, but he like, look, get your work done, get home. Most coaches get your work done and find some more work to do. BA is like, okay, we work on the field, we done. We set a certain time, Skip. For Mike, there was no, okay, we'll do the play tomorrow. If you mess the play up, Mike says, run it again. Mike didn't care. We had a schedule, Skip. Okay, you set practice, hour 45, 2 hours. Sometimes practice was 2 hours and 5 minutes. Mike didn't care if we went over. You was going to do it until you got it right. And if you need to be out there for 3 hours, you're going to be out there for 3 hours. BA seems to be, Skip, look, we're here. We're going to get the work done. Mistakes will be made. But I don't know if that's going to fly, Skip, because Coach Belichick and then Tom is used to getting everything perfect. He wanted everything right on the practice field to be perfect because when it came game time, it would be second nature and it would have no choice but to be perfect because all you've ever done was do it perfectly.
Okay, I hear you. And I do believe maybe early on, not sure what kind of season we're going to have, how much training camp, if any, we're going to have, even if we're going to have real games. I hope so. But whatever practice time they have, there may be some culture shock early on for Tom Brady. He may have to take over a little bit more in practice than he did for Belichick. Maybe he has to play the Belichick role a little bit in practice. Maybe he has to take over and say, we got to run this again until we get it right. And yet, Shannon, I always say this about Tom Brady. This may be his greatest attribute. for the GOAT, he is eminently coachable. He allowed Bill Belichick to coach him, to criticize him, especially in front of the team in film session and in practice, because he knew it was best for the team if he let Belichick get away with that. It sent a good message that I'm not any better than anybody else, so we all have to follow the lead of the head coach. And again, the reason I think Belichick is going to struggle so mightily this year is because he's not going to have that buffer, that leader in the locker room that was Tom Brady, who was constantly telling disgruntled players, hey, it's okay. That's just the way he is. Just swallow it, accept it, move on to tomorrow, because we're going to go win the championship this year just like we won it last year. And once Brady had track record to show the locker room, this works this way. If you'll just listen to me and in turn listen to him, it will work. Then they had a beautiful arrangement that I think Belichick is going to miss more than Brady misses. But again, Brady loves to learn. I think that's why he continues to evolve at age going on 43. So Bruce Arians isn't good as a quarterback coach. He's great. As you know, Peyton Manning, Ben, Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer. He is the quarterback whisperer. So Brady knows that he can sponge up a lot of little new details from Bruce Arians. And obviously, as I say, the great Tom Moore and even Clyde Christensen. It's a great triumvirate of quarterback knowledge that he's going to get to work with in Tampa. That's another reason he chose out of nowhere the Succaneers. It's because of those three guys. But I still say Arians will learn from Tom. This is the way you have to run a practice. This is the way you have to discipline the football team and your structure and your own life if we're going to go win a Super Bowl here in Tampa. So I love the choice that Tom made, and I do not think this will be a problem after maybe the first couple of practices.
Well, Skip, it's so different because everything, from meeting times, when we start meetings, as special teams after practice meetings, or are they before practice? Skip, I remember in Baltimore, it would be snowing outside. It was cold. Brian would approach it just like a game. He would have heated seats on the sidelines. He said, because come Sunday, you're going to have heated seats. So while the defense was up, the offense would be on the sideline on heated seats. I'm like, man, I'm thinking to myself, Skip, Mike Shanahan, when I was in Denver, would have never done that. It could have been 25 below. You standing up there shivering, waiting for your turn to get into the game. It's little things like that. Skip, we would drop a couple of passes. We did everything in 10-play sequence. So offense would go 10, defense would go 10. So we would get to play like 7 or 8. And there might have been 2 or 3 drops. And we've repeated that. Mike would look down at his sheet, start that you-know-what from the top. I'm like, bro, we got like one more play and we done as the defense. That's how he was. I believe that's what Tom and Skip, when you spend 20 years somewhere, somehow, it's hard to all of a sudden, okay, no, Skip. He got up for 20 years, going the same direction, leaving his house pretty much at the same time, probably parking in the same parking spot, probably entering the same, speaking to the same people every day. So it's going to be different. But I think it's something that he's going to welcome, Skip, because like I said, I think everybody agree that Tom, they had gotten on each other's nerve. They said there's a million nerves in the human body. And Coach Belichick and Tom Brady had gotten on each one, all of them. Tom had gotten on Bill's million nerves, and Bill had gotten on Tom's million nerves. So it was just basically time for them to part ways. And I hope Tom is happy because it seems they've found an ideal landing spot offensively. Skip, he's loaded. It's everything that he needs. Hopefully they can shore up the offensive line, protect him up in the middle. But this had to happen, and we knew it was going to happen. You and I have been talking about this since we first learned of the first trade that didn't go down. And I told you, I said, Skip, it's not going to end well. I said, the greater you are, the more pride you have. And I tried to tell, well, Shannon, you're not in the locker room. I've been in the locker room, and I've been in the locker room, Skip, with a lot of guys that's been great. from Ray Lewis to John Elway to Jonathan Ogden, Rod Woodson, the prideful men. And something like that happens when you are as accomplished as that and you want to move on to seemingly what many thought was a no one, that man ain't gonna forget that, Skip. I try to tell people, I say, Tom ain't forgetting that. Y'all let that golly gee whiz Tom fool you if you want to. That is a very prideful man. And his pride has been damaged after all he's done. They try to move him out in season. Not after an injury, Skip. If he tears something, we could have understood it. But Skip, he did tear his knee or his shoulder, yada, yada, yada. Skip, by all indications, Tom Brady was perfectly healthy, and they were willing to move on. Tom never forgot that. He never forgot it, and he never forgave Coach Belichick. Even though Mr. Kraft pulled a power play and says, Bill, you will get rid of Jimmy G, he never forgave, he never forgot. They put on you remember the Centennial, the 100 greatest players, and he and Coach Belichick was on stage, and I love you, Tom. It's a pleasure playing for you, and it's a great coaching you. All that, yeah, that sounds good. But I'm telling you, as a player, and I've never professed that I was great as Tom Brady, but Skip, when you're accomplished, you got hella pride. And when someone does something like that, it ain't gonna be the same. Yeah, I'm gonna be professional because I got a brand to uphold. I'm not gonna bash you. But boy, I'm never forgetting this. Never, ever.
So I thought for a second there we almost had a first here on Undisputed because Shannon Sharpe said, I never professed I was great. And then there was a ... a little pause as Tom Brady. And I'm thinking, wait a second. You're going to say you never professed you're great? You profess you're all-time great every day, every minute, every hour on Undisputed. You know every stat by heart. And, yeah, okay, no, you're not. But the point is, you never professed you're as great as Tom Brady. Well, duh. I mean, he's only the GOAT. And you have actually admitted you're not even the GOAT of tight ends.
Yeah, see, I see what you try to do. What I try to do is provide context. Yes, I was a good player. Okay, borderline great player, whatever you want to say. But I'm saying the greater the player, the more accomplished the player is, the more pride that he has. And you do that for a guy that's won Super Bowls, that's been MVP, that at the time, Skip, he was in the discussion for the GOAT. And obviously, when he's won 2 more Super Bowls and people say, okay, he's the GOAT. Coach Belichick said, I don't care. I'm trying to move on. I want Jimmy G as my quarterback. And you don't think you don't think that's going to bruise that man's ego.
I got it. So now we have the all-time greatest race to the next Super Bowl between Belichick and Brady. And in Tampa Bay, Brady is saying, watch what I can do with the Succaneers and Bruce Arians. Win or lose, we booze, Bruce. And up in Foxborough, it sure appears that Bill Belichick is saying, watch what I can do with Jared Stidham and next to nothing in free agency. I'll take exactly what we had last year when everybody said Tom didn't have enough help, and I'll take the kid quarterback we got in the 4th round, and I'm going to show you. And apparently my man Shannon here thinks that Belichick's going to win out next year because we already have 5 cases of Diet Mountain Dew bet on records. I say that Tom Brady in Tampa will have a better record than Belichick in New England next year. And I'll give you a chance to back out right now if you'd like to back out of that bet.
Nope. In Bill, I trust.
Nope. In Bill, I trust.
Now, I don't want to hear, Skip, I don't want to hear no excuses. I don't want to hear no excuses. If this thing goes sideways with Tampa, don't blame Bruce Arians. Don't blame the defense. Don't blame nobody.
And if this thing goes south in New England, as I think it will, I don't want to hear he gets a pass because he's rebuilding next year. No mercy. Let's talk Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk my favorite team. Let's talk about what Calvin Watkins writes about in the Dallas Morning News, that Ezekiel Elliott will be different than Todd Gurley has been because the Rams obviously cut Gurley and ate $20 million of dead money off his contract. Calvin Watkins also writes that Zeke will be different than Devontae Freeman. And obviously the Falcons cut him with 3 years and $21 million left on his deal. So Zeke's deal makes him the highest paid in the league of the running backs, $15 million a year. The total deal is 4 years and $102.9 million with incentives. $45 million of that is guaranteed. So Calvin Watkins concludes that the new coach, Mike McCarthy, has big new plans for Zeke and that he won't be anything like the bus that Todd Gurley and Devontae Freeman turned into in their original team's eyes. So, Shannon Sharpe, I ask you, will Zeke wind up next year being more worth the money that Jerry Jones gave him last year?
Skip, Zeke is in a situation that's totally different than those two guys that you mentioned, Todd Gurley and Devontae Freeman. Those guys had injury. Todd Gurley had a knee injury. Devontae Freeman had a knee injury. He had a foot. He had sports hernia, and he's been plagued with concussions. So, Skip, those situations are entirely different. If you look at Todd Gurley averaged 3.8 yards a carry, Devontae Freeman averaged 3.6. Zeke averaged 4.5 yards a carry. Zeke had 1,350 yards, which was fourth in the NFL. I get it. He didn't lead the league in rushing like he did 2 of his first 3 years. He didn't lead the league in yards per game like he did in his first 3 years. But Zeke is still a hell of a back. The thing that hurt Zeke was they played from behind. So the Cowboys weren't able to utilize him like they normally could. And, Skip, you mentioned Travis Frederick, although he made the Pro Bowl, was not himself. You admitted the offensive line. Zach Martin had a knee injury early, played the entire season. Tyron Smith was listed on the injury report some. He played the entire season. I think Lyle Collins might have missed 1 game, if I'm not mistaken. I think he missed 1 game. So with the influx of the offensive line and not playing to their maximum potential, Zeke still was the 4th leading rusher. Now, we saw what happened, just take for the AFC Championship game. We saw when the Titans had the lead, Skip, everything was going well. They running Derrick Henry, boom, he getting 4, 5, 3 yards a carry. The moment they fell behind and they couldn't rely on Derrick Henry, the wheels fell off. Well, just imagine if you're down 28 points, you're down 17 points, you're down 14 points. You can't run yourself back into the ball game. You have to throw it. Skip, Zeke's situation is so different than those guys because Zeke has only missed a game via suspension or sitting out because they had nothing else to accomplish. Zeke's situation is so different than theirs. Todd Gurley, Skip, he averaged 3.8, which was a full yard less than what he had just averaged the year before. So I don't like it, but it made sense for why the Rams did what they did. But it also goes to show you players, hey, look here, don't y'all be cutting no discounts. Because you see what happens when you give discounts? 3 years left. Now, Skip, we didn't talk about this, but you remember, 2 days ago, I think, maybe Friday, Bill O'Brien said the reason why they traded DeAndre Hopkins because he wanted to raise with 3 years left. But you see these teams have no problem cutting a player with 3 years left. We won't get your raise with 3 years, but we will release you if you don't meet our expectations. But if you exceed our expectation, remember you signed the contract. But Zeke is so different than these previous 2 guys that you mentioned, Skip. Zeke is going to be there for the foreseeable future.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I want to embrace every word you just uttered because next year to me is all about Ezekiel Elliott. I told you the other day, I believe it was Friday, that I believe the Cowboy defense has been slightly improved by the free agent signings, bargain basement, great deals, Gerald McCoy, obviously, Dontari Poe, maybe Aldon Smith, maybe Randy Gregory, Clinton Dix. I think it'll be a little better, a little more veteran, a little beefier, a little stronger, a little stouter. So I'm happy about that. And because I got real happy about it, I told you the other day that I believe this team can win 10 games and go 10-6. The over-under, according to Fox Bet, is 9.5 games, and you took under. I believe you took 8-8 for next year, missed the playoffs, Dallas Cowboys, although you said maybe with the 7 seed they could sort of eke or leak into that last
Get in with 9 wins, yes.
Okay, whatever, but you also were talking about 8-8. My issue is with the offense. It led the league in yards last year, in large part because of the quarterback who had a terrific yardage year. But to your point, There were a lot of empty calories in the yards, and Zeke didn't contribute the way I thought he was after he got paid, and I'm talking about he got paid. And yet, I expected Zeke last year to have an Emmitt Smith year, the year I was covering the Cowboys in '93 when Emmitt held out the first two games, and then boom, he comes back, they're 0-2, and Emmitt goes on in 14 games to win NFL regular season MVP, then leads them through the playoffs to the Super Bowl and is the Super Bowl MVP. Well, Emmitt got his money. I thought he still deserved even more than he got from Jerry Jones, but he immediately lived up to every penny that Jerry gave him. And in this case, Zeke lived down to every penny that Jerry gave him. And I kept telling you, he looks different to me. He looks like he's running in Cabo sand. And obviously he was working out in Cabo San Lucas during his holdout through training camp. And finally, Jerry did what Jerry always does. I thought Jerry overpaid him because Jerry loves him like a son. And as Jerry always says, when have you known me not to get one of these deals done? Well, only one time, and that's this time right now with Dak Prescott. But he did get Zeke done, and yet the numbers are starting to scare me, Shannon, because if we look at average yards per game in his 4 years in the NFL, Zeke has gone 109 as a rookie, 109 yards a game he averaged, then 98 in his second year, 96 in his third year when he had to miss the 6 games suspended, and then only 85 yards a game last year. And to your point, in 2 of his first 3 years, the full seasons, he did lead the league in total rushing yards. And he's led it every year in yards per game, but they keep falling and falling. And I'm saying, wait a second, last year in yards per rush per game, he was only 20th. And in big plays, 20-plus yard plays last year, he was tied for 23rd because he only had 4 of them. And I told you the most glaring stat of all to me, the killer stat of the year was on first down, Emmitt had the second most attempts in the NFL last year, and he was 18th in yards per rush on first down. 2 plus 2 equal, whoops, you're in trouble. So again, second most attempts on first down, 18th in yards per rush on first down. Well, that's horrifying to me because that's not what we paid for. That's not what Jerry paid for. So will Mike McCarthy come in with a new scheme, a new direction, more creativity? Will he help Kellen Moore figure out some new toss plays or some new sort of, cutback plays where they'll take advantage of some of Zeke's gifts that we're not taking advantage of last year? And I agree with you, he's not hurt, but that's what scares me. He wasn't hurt last year, and we didn't get a whole lot of bang for our bucks in an 8-8 year in the final year of Jason Garrett.
Well, Skip, look at this here. Zeke led the league in first half carries last year, but he was only 14th in second half carries. In 7 or more games, he had 2 carries or fewer in the fourth quarter. Skip, what do you expect him to do if you're down by 21 points in the fourth quarter? You're falling behind, so you're taking, it's kind of like, Skip, if you play Mahomes. What do you try to do? You don't want him to have the ball. Forget how much time he has. You want to control the clock. You want to stay on the field as long as you possibly can, get touchdowns, minimize his possessions. Well, if the Cowboys, you don't want the ball in Zeke's hands. So we feel if we can race out to a 10, 14, 17-point lead, we're going to make Zeke useless. Because now, in order for you to catch up, you have to throw. And now you can't use your bell cow back. I believe that's what hurt Zeke. If the Cowboys were leading these ball games, because if you remember, Skip, when Emmitt led the league in rushing, if I'm not mistaken, only Barry Foster had more carries than Emmitt that season. And you and I both know the Cowboys weren't falling behind in 93 like they did once they got Emmitt back. Emmitt was getting 25, 30 carries a game. There was none of this 10 carries here, no 14 carries there. Emmitt was a bell cow back. And you know Jimmy Johnson and Norv Turner, offensive coordinator, Jimmy was the head coach, were going to feed Emmitt behind those big hogs.
Okay, I got you. And that's a very good point that Zeke's carries fell off dramatically in the second half last year. They did, obviously, because the team kept falling woefully behind. That had something to do with a woeful defense, and it had something to do with Zeke on first down in the first half. Because when they tried to set the tone with the guy that got the second most carries in the league on first down, he couldn't set it. What did I keep telling you? Every Monday, I would come into the studio at Fox. We're obviously at home now, but I would come into Fox and I would sit in my seat across from you at the debate desk and I'd say, he's driving me crazy on first down. They keep handing it to Emmett for -1 and 0 and -2 and -3 and 0 and 1 and 2. Yeah, to Zeke, I'm sorry. And Zeke, remember what happened in the Minnesota game on that Sunday night? Dak completes 6 straight passes and gets them down to 2nd and 2 at the 11. With the game on the line, they're down 4. And I think, just let Dak take it home. And instead, they go Zeke, and threw it to Zeke. And on the first 2 plays, I think it went -3 and then 0. And then a little quick out to Zeke that was a poor pass, a poor route, bad idea, completely covered, incomplete. And they kept putting the game in Zeke's hands in the first half. And it wasn't working. He could not establish the beachhead in the first half that would lead them to victory in the second half. I need to see more Emmett because I covered that team in 93. And yeah, they would just establish Emmett in the first half and it would either be they'd be ahead or it'd be close at halftime. And they keep feeding little Emmett, little number 22, Skidoo, here and here and here. And they could win games that way because they were a running football team. Last year turned into more of a passing football team, in part because Zeke wasn't as effective early in football games.
I believe if you give Zeke his opportunity, Zeke will be just as effective.
Okay. So my bottom line to this discussion is I hope that Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News is dead on right, that Zeke will be different, that he'll earn his money next year, because I would like to see them turn into more of a running, dominating, mauling football team that I think they can be. And if the offense, which is now not quite as good because obviously they lost Randall Cobb, their little slot receiver who was very effective last year, if the offense can be pulled up by Zeke next year, then I think they can win 10 games and Shannon does not. No mercy. Welcome back to Undisputed. Man, do I ever miss sports. Over the weekends, I can watch only so many classic replays and 30 for 30s. I found myself on Saturday watching the movie Barbershop for, I don't know, the 6th or 8th time of my life. And I think I loved it more on Saturday than I've ever loved it. I loved it so much, especially the speech that Cedric, as Eddie, gives Ice Cube out on the sidewalk in front of the barbershop after Ice Cube has sold it. The speech that Cedric gives about what the barbershop can mean to a community, especially when it comes to talking sports, just really got me right in the heart. So I texted Ice Cube just to tell him how much I appreciated the movie, and he texted right back that he was so proud of that movie because it's so honest and so entertaining. And then Ice Cube texted me again and said, sports are the oxygen of our society, and he concurred with me. Man, he misses sports. I miss talking the barbershop that can be undisputed. So let's get back into the real barbershop here on Undisputed, Shannon. Let's go back into the horse competition. ESPN reportedly, or they say, are talking to the NBA about establishing some sort of and televising a horse tournament between NBA players. So let's just do hypothetical. If every NBA player were involved in this horse tournament, your money would be on which player?
Skip, man, this is really tough because I put 5 guys that I thought would really have a chance to win. I have Steph, James Harden, Dame Lillard, Trae Young, and KD. And I went back and forth, but when the smoke settled, I took Steph Curry because we've never seen anything like what he's been able to do. Now, obviously, Skip, he's a transcendent player because now you don't necessarily need big, you don't need tall, you don't need athletic. You just need somebody that can shoot the ball walking in the gym. And that's what he's been able to do. So now it's not jumping over everybody. you have 7 and 8-year-old Skip trying to shoot the three-point shot. And you watch him shoot the ball from the tunnel. You watch him shoot the ball from half court, just like he's shooting his normal three-point shot with the ease in which he does it. He's had to be creative in order to get that shot off. And so has Trae Young, because Trae Young is even smaller than Steph. But Skip, I mean, we've never seen anything like this in our NBA history, where you have this many guys that can shoot the ball from distance like the guys that I mentioned. But I took Steph. Would I be surprised if he lost in the first round to, say, KD or James Harden? No. Would I be surprised if Trae Young won the whole thing? No, I wouldn't. But we had to pick one guy. I'm taking Steph because I believe he's the greatest shooter that we've ever seen. And you mentioned guys that have taken 2,000 three-pointers or more, Skip. He's 43.5% of 205 guys that's taken at least 2,000 threes. Let that sink in, shooting from that distance. I'm taking Steph.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, what are the rules? What do you want the rules to be? What do you want the limitations to be? Are there any limitations to this game, this competition?
No, I didn't put any limitations on it. I mean, I put, obviously, if KD's in it, if KD's healthy, yeah, he can dunk. That might be a little stretch for Trae Young trying to dunk the ball with two hands and things like that. But hey, you better not miss. Mm-hmm. If you win the coin flip, Skip, you better not miss any shots, because if Trae Young's up against KD or James Harden, they might dunk the ball in that one-step dunk. And you and I both know the likelihood of Trae Young one-step dunking isn't very good.
Okay, I got it. That's why I would want some purity of competition. I would want to make it only shots that you would shoot in a basketball game. I don't want Steph shooting it from the tunnel. I just don't think that's fair, because that's his shot. But I want him to shoot the shots that everybody takes and mostly makes, obviously, in competition, in real basketball. I also say no dunks, because you don't want to give the big guys too much advantage. You can shoot anything in the lane you want to. Obviously, you made the case in our opening topic today. If LeBron wants to shoot a 90-foot, throw a baseball pass 90 foot to try to win a horse game for Michael Jordan, God bless you, because he won't be able to make that shot against Michael Jordan. But you could make that one, because that occasionally happens in a real basketball game. But the point is, I'm going to pick the guy that I believe is clutch, because there's going to be trash talk. This is going to be on national TV. I'm talking about a televised tournament, and I want to pick the guy who has every shot from deep to close. Like, I want somebody who can do it all, who can make every kind of shot, because if you have a weakness, your opponent's going to say, well, I'll start shooting the shot that you can't, and you're going to get in trouble unless you win the coin flip and go first and just make every deep three. Like if Steph starts out and makes 10 straight 35-foot three-point shots, that's going to be pretty impossible to beat. But my point is, I'm with you on Steph. He would be the odds-on favorite, because, remember, Steph has a great handle. Steph makes a lot of shots in the lane that are, sort of whipped cream shots, little dipsy-do shots, little Harlem Globetrotter shots with either hand. And you again, those are fair. Those are certainly within the confines of what I'm talking about would be the rules. So Steph could make those shots. I don't know about mid-range jump shots. He makes some, but he just doesn't try that many. But I still think Steph would be the odds-on favorite. Yeah. Okay, here's my dark horse. Here's the guy I just might put my money on. And that would be Sweet Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers. And I hear you about Dame, and I hear you about James Harden. I even hear you about Trae Young. But Lou Williams is a money player. He's a big shot taker and a big shot maker from all over the floor. Lou Williams is a finisher, an athletic, gymnastic, dipsy-do finisher with either hand, where he makes shots in the lane where I say, I don't know how he pulled that off. So you need to be able to make that shot. Lou Williams will pull up and make mid-range jumpers, and he will pull up and make deep threes. Now, he's not like, he's no Steph from three-point, but I'm talking about under pressure with the money on the table. Lou Williams is a flat-out dagger shooter. So I would like his odds in this competition because he's fearless, he's mentally tough, and he has a repertoire that would work in the game of horse. I love Kevin Durant. I miss Kevin Durant. I still think he's the best player on the planet. But if you're going to pick Kevin Durant, he's going to have a disadvantage on those gymnastic, athletic, hanging shots in the lane because he's too long and tall to make those kind of shots. So I think that a smaller player would have a big advantage over Kevin.
Skip, you and I both forgot the guy. I'm changing my pick. I wanted Steph. Guess who I'm taking to win a horse competition? Kyrie Irving. Can't nobody touch him. The English that he can put on the basketball, Skip, during the layups, we've seen the dips he do. And you talk about clutch. He hit arguably one of the 2 or 3 clutchest shots in playoff history. And he got a mid-range game, and we know he can finish with either hand at the rim. So I love Steph, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought you were going with Kyrie. When you started saying, I'm going to take this guy, he's come up clutch, and I just texted Steve, my chief research guy, I said, Kyrie. I thought you were going to go Kyrie. I want Kyrie. Nobody can beat Kyrie in horse. Nobody can beat him, Skip. Because he can shoot the three. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm changing my pick. I want Kyrie. I want Kyrie Irving.
Okay. Did you say you're texting while we're on the air? Did you just text your chief researcher? I know you got like 8 of them. But you did? Aren't you paying attention to what I'm saying? I can't text on the air.
Wow. Yeah, because see, I thought when you said this guy's clutch, he's make tough shot, he has this dip to do, and I was texting him thinking you were going to go Kyrie. And I put Kyrie, and I was like, that's who I should have went. Skip, I wasn't even thinking because all these guys that I have on my list, they can make plays. But Skip, Kyrie, some of the shots that we've seen him make, and Skip, when he get hot, he can do it. I mean, the English that he can put on, the way he can contort his body.
That is good, and I would be the first to admit, I did not think about Kyrie Irving. Why didn't I? Well, he's been hurt. And he's also been such a disappointment to me as a big Kyrie fan because of the way he blew himself up and blew up the Celtics in Boston. And then he came to Brooklyn and immediately threw that team under the bus. And so I forget about him because my mind won't let me go there. But one last thing before we go about Steph Curry. One reason I wouldn't bet my money on Steph is the one issue I've had with Steph that I've never had with Kyrie is in the biggest moments, Steph has too often come up even smaller than he is. And I'll start with the three-point shootout competition. Remember, in his hometown of Charlotte 2 years ago, he gets in the finals and he lost to Joe Harris. And he didn't shoot it well in the finals. And then, unfortunately and regrettably for me, remember what happened to Steph Curry in the finals that LeBron and company came back in. LeBron and Kyrie obviously came back in to win games 4, 5, and 6. Steph was atrocious in 4, 5, and 6, especially atrocious in game 7. I'm sorry, well, not 4, 5, and 6. It was 5, 6, and 7. But in game 7 at Golden State, at Oracle, Steph shot 6 of 19 and 4 of 14 from 3. And in the fourth quarter, he was 1 of 6 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. That game, that loss, that whole finals loss to me was on Steph Curry, who has not yet been, obviously, the MVP of a finals. So we would like to hear what you think about this. And maybe if you want to, I know Shannon reads all of his Twitter responses and IG responses. So tell Shannon what you think about our choices. Yeah, go ahead. And then maybe we can talk about it again tomorrow. But up next, let's talk Cam Newton. Let's talk about a former personnel director of the New England Patriots who says that Cam and Belichick would not work. They would be oil and water. I agree. Let's see what Shannon thinks next here on Undisputed.
No mercy.
Scott Pioli was personnel director under Bill Belichick in Pioli's stint with the Patriots from 2000 through 2008. And on CBS Sports Radio the other day, Pioli said he cannot see Cam Newton and Belichick coexisting because they'd be, quote unquote, oil and water. Pioli said that Belichick believes that football is far more important than entertainment, while Cam believes that football and entertainment are equal partners. And Pioli went on to say, in today's football, they are equal partners, but that Belichick has the soul of a football man. So, Shannon Sharpe, do you believe that Cam and Belichick would work well together?
Yeah. How many people said the very same thing, that Randy Moss and Coach Belichick could not work? If Randy had brought the same behavior that he exhibited in Minnesota the last couple of years, what he had taken to Oakland and brought that to New England, how would that have worked out? But Randy understood, how many more opportunities am I going to get? So he got to New England and he conformed to what the Patriot way, so to speak. I believe Cam would do that. Cam, you have to understand, Skip, when you're without a job, maybe I had a job, Skip, that I wore a T-shirt. Well, I got relieved of my duty on that job. Now, the next job requires me to wear a shirt and tie. Well, I ain't wearing no shirt and tie. The last 10 years, I've been wearing a T-shirt. Skip, you conform. You're looking for occupation. You're looking for work, gainful employment. So, Cam, obviously, Cam would have to modify. And if he's unwilling to modify, well, he wouldn't have a job. But I do believe Cam would understand some of the antics that he displayed in Carolina is not going to fly in New England. He understands that. And I believe Cam would be willing to conform. It's easy to say, well, this wouldn't work, that wouldn't work. But they said the very same thing about Randy Moss and Coach Belichick. And Randy worked his tail off because we saw plays in Oakland, we saw plays in Minnesota, that he'd lasted one day in Coach Belichick in New England had he exhibited that type of behavior and that type of effort. So I believe Cam could. Now, Skip, it's hard to really know what the Patriots are thinking because they keep everything to the vest. Oh, they love this guy. Oh, they love that guy. No, they don't. They go in a totally different direction. Oh, they really love Lamar Jackson, and they never work Lamar out. Oh, they love this guy, and it's always someone you least expect. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo was on their radar, Skip. Jared Stidham probably was on anybody's radar as far as going. So you don't know what they're thinking. But I believe Cam could work. But he would have to make some concessions with how he plays and how he behaves. Absolutely.
You make a lot of good points that I would like to believe. But Shannon, in the end, Randy Moss played receiver. Tom Brady played quarterback. Tom Brady has a long, well-earned reputation for teaching receivers or wayward players how to do it the right way in New England. So again, the buffer between Belichick and any new Patriot was always Tom Brady saying, hey, this is how we do it here. And yeah, he can be a little bit of a dictator, but you just got to roll with it because we're going to win games this way. So Randy Moss said, okay, that's the way we got to do it because the GOAT is throwing me passes. He wasn't yet the GOAT, but he was becoming the GOAT. And again, Belichick could take chances on Chad Ochocinco or even last year Antonio Brown because he could trust that Brady would sort of show them the way it works in New England and that they'd say, okay, because Brady would work hard to keep them involved, get them involved in the offense. So again, if all of a sudden Cam is the quarterback, I don't think Belichick could live with that. I don't think he could coexist with that because I'm not sure Cam Newton could change the way he is. He's a force. He has huge aura and huge presence, and he can't help himself. He wants to have the last word. He wants to be the face of and the voice of the organization. And you know and I know Coach Belichick has the last word because he has the only word in that organization. And as desperate as Cam might be, I just don't know if he could suddenly say, okay, I'm not that guy anymore, because that guy cannot be a backup quarterback. he can't mentor Jared Stidham. It's not the way he's built. Brett Favre couldn't mentor Aaron Rodgers. So to me, Belichick wouldn't choose Cam because Belichick is trying to show Brady, watch what I can do without you. And in so doing, Belichick doesn't want to say, I'll go get a former MVP in Cam Newton. Watch what I can do with the former MVP. Well, he was the MVP. We all know Cam played at great levels in this league. If he hadn't gotten beat up and hurt finally, he'd still be playing at a very high level and would be a hot commodity on the open market. But we know he's got all kinds of injury situations, and right now it's hard for teams to bet on him because they can't even bring him in for a physical with their own team doctors the way under the quarantine we're all under right now. So the point is,
yes,
would Bill Belichick say, I'll take that guy, the MVP, to replace Tom Brady? No, he's going to say, watch what I can do with the 4th round draft pick. I got another Tom Brady right on schedule. I'm ready to go forward with Jared Stidham. And as backup, he needs Brian Hoyer because Brian Hoyer's on his 10th NFL stop, and he's got no ego, and he knows the Patriot way because this is the 3rd time he's been a Patriot. So the ideal for Belichick is Jared Stidham, unless he wants to draft a quarterback. Maybe he does at 23 or try to move up. I don't know. I'm not sure a quarterback's going to be there that he's going to want. But again, to me, Cam would be the last choice that Bill Belichick would make.
Skip, the number one skill for survival is not speed, it's not strength, it's not size. The number one key for all species to survive is adaptability. The ability to adapt. If you do not adapt, you become extinct. That's what happened to the dinosaurs. They could not adapt, they became extinct. The alligators learned how to breathe in water, they survived. You see, Cam Newton, if you want to survive in the NFL, you must adapt. You see, Skip, for Coach Belichick doesn't have to win with Stidham. He doesn't have to win. He just has to win a Super Bowl with a quarterback other than Tom Brady for him to get the credit. That's all he does. Because everybody says Cam Newton is not the same Cam that won the MVP in 2015. So if Coach Belichick go get Joe Shoebox and win a Super Bowl, he wins. Just like Tom Brady. Tom Brady just had to go somewhere other than New England and win a Super Bowl for him to get the credit that he deserved. Skip, he could have gone to a prominent, go to the Giants or go to one of these great organizations. He's like, nah, I just need to go somewhere and win a Super Bowl without you. All Coach Belichick has to do is win a Super Bowl with a quarterback not named Tom Brady. And that's what he's going to try to do. It might not work out with Stidham. It looks to me, he believes it can. But he just needs to win a Super Bowl with a quarterback not named Tom Brady. And Cam, if he wants a job, has to understand in order to survive, you must be willing to adapt.
For Cam's sake, I hope you are right about that.
No mercy.
Let's get back to a Shannon topic that he's going to love here because it's about Aaron Rodgers, who says that he sees Tom Brady playing into his 40s and what Drew Brees is doing into his 40s. Now Phillip Rivers is still going strong in Indy. And Aaron Rodgers says he's considering playing into his 40s and that he sees himself finishing in Green Bay. So Shannon Sharpe, do you see your man Aaron Rodgers playing into his 40s and also as a Packer?
Skip, I don't see any reason why he couldn't. I think the thing is that what has happened now, Skip, is that the quarterback in today's game take care of themselves off the field better than the quarterbacks in years past did off the field. And the rules that have been implemented protect and take care of the quarterback on the field. So I don't see any reason why he couldn't play until he's 40. He does a great job of getting rid of the Skip. He doesn't run the football nearly as much. You mentioned he's throwing the ball away at a high clip because he doesn't want to take the unnecessary punishment. So I don't see any reason, he's 36 now, he turns 37 in December, why Aaron Rodgers couldn't play until he's 40. I don't know why any of these guys, Skip. Think about it, Drew Brees, what, 41, making $25 million a year. When are you going to go make that? I mean, now Tony Romo is giving guys incentives, Skip. Hey, maybe I need to get into broadcasting because I can make, even if I don't get hit but a couple of times a game, I can make great money and not get any hits. So I don't know if that's something Aaron seems a bit more private, a bit more guarded than Tony Romo ever was. So I don't know if this is something that he wants to get into, Skip, on this side of football, the camera. But I have no doubt in my mind, a lot of quarterbacks going to play into their 40s because the rules and the way they protect themselves and the money is just too good to just walk away from.
I'm sorry, I do not see Aaron Rodgers playing into his 40s. To me, Aaron has too many other interests in his life. As he says, he likes his scotch. He likes his golf. He likes to travel with his lady Danica. They were just down in, where were they, Chile, and barely got out before the quarantine hit.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's got so many other things that he wants to do, that he likes to do. And I don't think Aaron, from everything I've heard or read, I don't know him personally, but I don't think he's quite as dedicated to fitness as Tom Brady is as he goes on age 43. I'm not sure he's quite as dedicated to his nutrition as Tom Brady has been into his 40s. I'm just not sure Aaron Rodgers wants to study tape, study the film that Tom Brady takes home with him every night, the way Tom does even now. And as you've always told me, Shannon, what got you at age 35 wasn't the injuries, although your body was starting to break down. It was the meetings. You just couldn't take sitting through those meetings anymore. And I got to say, I think Aaron might be the same way as he gets to age 40. So I'm sorry, I'm not seeing age 40 and on for Aaron Rodgers.
But I think the thing is, Skip, look, I'm not saying that, you don't have to be as maniacal as Tom Brady. And I think Tom has laxed some of his, Skip, because now we see him going to Monaco and we see him going places that we never saw in years past. We saw him say, hey, if I want to slice a pizza or if I want to indulge in something, I will. So he's not as stringent. He doesn't hold that to the vest as strict as he once did. But the biggest thing, Skip, is the rules. The way you can attack, the way you cannot attack the quarterback. Montana and Elway and Aikman and Marino, those guys, Kelly, those great players, Skip, they called it. You covered the game. You was at the game when Goose flopped on Rich Gannon and separated his shoulder. Man, if you do that to a quarterback now, can you imagine if Aaron Donald would have landed on Tom Brady's shoulder or Breeze's shoulder and separated? Man, he gonna get at least 2 games. That was commonplace. They didn't even throw a flag, let alone get a fine or suspension. They didn't even throw a flag. You getting flagged, you're probably getting thrown out of the game. So the rules have been instituted because the quarterback is such at the face of the NFL that you can't attack it. You got a very small area which you can attack the quarterback. Basically, it's the size of his numbers. So you can hit that from top to bottom, but you can't hit him in his knee. You can't hit him in his ankle. You can't touch his head. Can't touch his face mask. So, Skip, they're heavily protected on the field. If you just do a little nutrition, work out a little bit off the field, you should be able to play until your 40s if you're halfway decent.
Okay, but will Green Bay want Aaron Rodgers in his 40s? Because I'm going to remind you again, and you don't want to hear this, Aaron's completion percentage has dropped each of the last 4 years. His QBR has dropped each of the last 4 years. Other than that 4-0 run as the road wildcard team to that one Super Bowl 10 years ago, he's 6-8 in the postseason. And of those 6 wins, 5 were a little fluky. And of the 8 losses, a lot of them are just embarrassing losses. So, Shannon, he's going to have to play at a much higher level. Tom just kept winning and going to Super Bowls. And I think Aaron's going to need to go to another Super Bowl before he's 40 to finish his career in Green Bay into his 40s.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay, enough of that one.
Has his QBR dropped lower than Tom? Has his QBR dropped lower than Tom Brady's? What about completion percentage? Has that dropped lower than Tom?
Well, not last year, but I think Aaron had a lot more help last year than Tom Brady did.
Oh, now he got help.
They made the playoffs, and then they finally got embarrassed in San Francisco, as you know. No mercy. Let's bring it home here on Undisputed. Trae Young half-joked to Shaquille O'Neal that one day he'll be as good a shooter as Steph Curry. Shannon, you buying that?
Yeah, he could, but he's going to have to win. Skip, you got to remember now, when Steph got into the league, Steph can shoot the ball. But until he started getting to the playoffs and winning finals, that he started getting credit for being the greatest shooter. Steph could always shoot the ball. I'm sure everybody that went to Davidson, that saw Steph Curry shoot before they started going to the NCAA tournament, before he became a household name, they weren't surprised by what they were seeing. We were surprised because we had never seen it before. And now we got an opportunity to see, and he's doing it on not just Davidson gym, he's doing this to Kansas. He almost beat Kansas. He's dropping 40 in NCAA tournament game from this small school. So in order for Trae to get the recognition that Steph has received, he's going to have to win. If he can't win, it's not going to happen.
Shannon, I said before Steph's draft, I would take him #1 overall because I saw all that at Davidson. I told you from the start, I watched every dribble that Trae Young took at the University of Oklahoma, and I'm not buying into him as a superstar in the NBA. I love him as a passer. I don't love him as a shooter. He's a 34% so far career three-point shooter. For his much longer career, Steph is 44%. Trae's pretty good from the free throw line at 85, but Steph is 91%, the best free throw shooter in the history of basketball. There's no way that Trae Young can ever come within 5 miles of Steph Curry as a shooter or even a free throw shooter. I'm sorry.
Skip, we didn't think anybody was going to be able to shoot the three like Ray Allen or Reggie Miller. And lo and behold, we got Ray Allen and Reggie Miller combined in one guy. It's Steph Curry. So to say that is impossible, he's going to have to win. He's going to have to do it in big moments on big stages. And if he can do that, let's rehab this conversation in 10 years. We'll be here.
I wish I could go on, but we're out of time, and I had so much more to say. And by the way, a quick note, U.S. Open golf tournament on Fox has been postponed until September 17th to 20th. And remember, tomorrow we're on 10 to noon Eastern here on Fox. Please stay strong and please stay home.